This video won't stay up long because people don't even see the truth. When you try to get it out there, it'll be hidden. This craziness will keep going on for a while now. America, you're doomed. And it's only because you can't see through the lies. I see people on a YouTube channel today saying that they're all against this evilness of this government and everything else, but praying for their enemies. It's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy.
They can either believe it or they cannot believe it. I don't give two f***s, but I am telling you right now, that back there is not real.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, $1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice. Under our forfeiture statutes, the government can take everything you own. Everything from your car to your house, your bank account, not merely what they confiscate in terms of the dollars from the transaction that you just got caught engaging in. They can take everything. I don't care why they've become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society. They are in jail. Away from my mother, your husband, our families. So I don't want to ask, what made them do this? They must be taken off the street.
Several years ago, I went to see comedian Kamau Bell perform, and as a part of his act, he did something like a racial roll call to get the crowd warmed up. So he started out and he said, "Hey, black people in the house tonight." There was claps and cheers. And he said, "If you're black in here tonight and you're proud, I want you to put your fist in the air and yell Black Power." And all the black people in attendance, with unison and with pride, they put their fists in the air and they yelled, "Black Power." And then he said, "What about Latinos? Any Latinos in the house?" And there was claps and cheers. And he said, "If you're Latino in here tonight and you're proud, put your fist in the air and yell, Latino power." Same thing. All the Latinos in unison with pride, they put their fist in the air and yelled, Latino power. And then Kamau said, "Any white people in the house tonight?" And there was a few claps, and he said, "If you're white in here tonight and you're proud, I want you to put your fist in the air and yell, white power." And there was silence.
Be with us as we offer up a prayer for the end of white supremacy.
I want people to come into our country in the largest numbers ever.
An unrelenting stream of immigration. Non-stop. Non-stop.
We will come here, we have been coming here, and we will continue to come here in hundreds of millions until indeed Gaddafi said Europe will turn black.
The theory of the Great Replacement is about demographic change. It's about this idea that, they also use the language of white genocide, the language that that white populations are shrinking ethnically due to demographic change, and that through birth rate replacement, there will be a shrinking and ever shrinking population of whites.
Some more news. The results of the 2020 census just came out, and for the first time in American history, the number of white people went down.
As you see in some of these groups, especially the extreme right wing, there's this conspiracy theory about the Great Replacement conspiracy, essentially, which says that there's this great plot to replace white people with immigrants from other parts of the world.
The Great Replacement theory, which says that white people are being systematically replaced by brown and black people who are, allegedly, according to this false conspiracy theory, being brought in.
I think one of the the challenges that governments and communities across the world have to face right now is understanding that even if that's true, we have to find ways to frame demographic change in other ways.
Folks like me who are Caucasian of European descent, for the first time in 2017, will be in an absolute minority in the United States of America.
Replacement conspiracy theory.
Absolute minority. Fewer than 50% of the people in America, from then and on, will be white European stock.
That great replacement conspiracy theory.
That's not a bad thing. That's a source of our strength.
I think that for so long, the dominant culture has been white culture, that honestly, I think it's good that there's other voices getting the chance to be the dominant culture.
Great replacement conspiracy theory.
Part of this greater America that we see on the horizon and that is arriving daily is just simply waiting for old white guys like me to die off, and we're going to have a new America.
And you're okay saying that?
Oh, absolutely.
With a smile.
Oh, yeah, sure.
They put forth conspiracy theories with respect to white genocide and the Great Replacement.
This idea that this conspiracy theory really of white genocide, that there's going to be this great replacement, as it's called, of migrants from other countries replacing American citizens, and here in Europe as well.
Today I saw a thing that said a lot of men, white men, were committing suicide. And I almost thought, yeah, great.
I think there's a resurgence of anti-Semitism because at this point in time, Europe has not yet learned how to be multicultural. And I think we're going to be part of the throes of that transformation, which must take place. Europe is not going to be the monolithic societies that they once were in the last century. Jews are going to be at the center of that. It's a huge transformation for Europe to make. They are now going into a multicultural mode, and Jews will be resented because of our leading role. But without that leading role and without that transformation, Europe will not survive.
They have a shared fear in conspiracy theory, something called the white genocide or the Great Replacement, which says that Jews are the head of this cabal.
Ensure that we can get this kind of material before it comes on to the internet.
A conspiracy theory, that of the Great Replacement.
Our country is changing. It's a demographically changing nation. White people will no longer be the majority of the country.
The end of white Christian America.
Because the demographic change between 1980 and 2000 in California, going from about 2/3 white to majority people of color, is the demographic change the United States is going through between 2000 and 2050.
This false conspiracy theory.
There is a major demographic change going on in this country. Whites are projected to lose their majority in the next 30 years or so, by 2043, according to the Census Bureau.
Country where the demographics are changing, it's becoming less white.
Correct.
It's changing. White men are set to become, or white people are set to become majority minority in the next decade or two, whatever it is. And so by necessity, that those power structures will change.
With this massive demographic change in this country, whites are on the verge of losing their majority status.
America has changed demographically. White political clout is not what it used to be.
Whites will not be the majority. I mean, it's an exciting transformation of the country. It's an exciting evolution and progress of our country in many different ways. Clearly, there's, among white supremacists, white nationalists, that is viewed as a horrific event.
This is not going to be the country of white people.
White British population has decreased by 600,000, while the minority population has increased by 1.2 million. So, yes, lads, we're winning.
We want, people say demographics are not destiny. Well, we're trying to make it destiny. So that's the work that we're doing.
Amen.
The fact of the matter is, the UK is never going to be white again. It's just not going to happen. People can wish it, but it's not realistic.
White Americans will soon be a minority, and that's great.
A lot of the real craziness comes, if you like, from rural white Americans who feel that they're losing their country. They're losing ownership of the country. They're right. I mean, we are becoming more diverse, more multicultural, and they are, in the end, they are not the future. In the end, the power they still have will go away.
We actually, there's a number of studies that suggest we shouldn't be worrying too much about making white kids feel bad, because they get so much false messages about their goodness that it's actually kind of critically important for them. White guilt has to happen. It's a developmental need. If you believe in equity and you live in this kind of system and you're white, you're going to hit white guilt.
So this morning, the baby woke up and had some sort of violence in her heart. I don't know what it was, but she has been losing her mind all day. And it's interesting because I'm watching her lose her mind, and then I'm watching the preteen respond to that by trying to make her happy. And I have had to actively tell him, stop trying to make her feel better, stop responding to her tears. It's so interesting to see the conditioning of people responding to white girl tears happening so early.
This little cutie is my son Bennett. As you can see, my son is a white male. So here are some books that I bought to help prevent him from growing up to be awful.
Michaela is a 7th grader at a majority white middle school. Her responses, according to our expert, Dr. Melanie Killen, could indicate a subconscious racial bias.
Dr. Donald Moss is an author and faculty member at both the New York Psychoanalytical Institute and the San Francisco Center for Psychoanalysis, where he tells his students that whiteness is contagious, can be passed on by other infected people, and that you are more prone to contract whiteness if you are white. So now Dr. Moss has published a report that calls whiteness a, quote, malignant parasitic-like condition that enables the host to have, quote, power without limit, force without restriction, violence without mercy.
I am, as a white person, a racist. It doesn't mean that that my beliefs are purposeful and I'm doing things on purpose, and yet I can't be a white person living in this society and not be benefiting from racism.
America has a problem, and its name is whiteness. So, white people, how does it feel to be a problem?
I realize that I'm white and that I have all the advantages of being part of that group. Privileges that I don't really think I fully understood until yesterday. I was reading White Fragility. I'm like, oh, okay. I think I'm taking that next step in my journey to understanding what's happening, what equity is about, what racial equity is about, what anti-racism is about, and what racism is about. Obviously, I'm white, and I checked the box that I'm white, and I grew up in an all-white school, all-white community. I was raised to be such an individual, and I think of myself as such an individual, that really, in thinking about this video, I realized that I'm white as part of a white supremacy culture.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white, and I want to understand it.
Well, I must say, to Claire's point, I'm increasingly embarrassed to be a white male these days.
All white people are racist. So I put this up because I really want any white person in the room to know up front that this is what we're dealing with, that it's not going to be this coddling of white tears and what that looks like. We're not going to discuss, oh, maybe some of us have worked it out. No, you're always going to be racist, actually. So even when you're on your path to trying to figure out how to be a better human being, because I believe that white people are born into not being human, like that actually, instead of people of color and black folks being dehumanized, that actually everyone is dehumanized off rip within white supremacy, that y'all are born into a life to not be human, and that's what y'all are taught to do, to be demons. So in this particular way, white people are all racist.
Excuse me, I work for Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry, I work for Black Lives Matter. I'm sorry that I scared you. But since I work for that company, my CEO has told me to come out today and to bring you on your knees because you have white privilege. So if they see that a white person is getting on their knees, that shows solidarity for the situation. And could you just please apologize for your white privilege? Just apologize?
I am. I'm trying to think of the right words to say because that's a big thing to say.
It's big.
It comes from...
It's large in this country.
I'm incredibly sorry.
I mean, first there were white settlers,
And they often use terror and violence to take land from indigenous peoples. But then the very first real terrorist cell in America, first terrorist organization in America, was made up of white supremacist forces of the defeated Confederacy in the aftermath of the Civil War. And they arose because they didn't like the demographic change that was happening.
Would it be fair to say, based on your expertise, that white people are psychopathic?
I think so, yeah.
And white people make other people think that black people are bad, so that's why black people don't have power. If a white person kills a black person, they call it self-defense, but if a black person kills a white person, it says murder.
So even the most liberal, well-intentioned white person has a virus in his or her brain. White people are always innocent, and their innocence constitutes their crime. It is too late to be innocent.
Realize the biggest terror threat in this country is white men, most of them radicalized right, to the right. And we have to start doing something about them. There is no travel ban on them. There is no ban on, they had the Muslim ban. There is no white guy ban. So what do we do about that?
All of these groups of people, the issues they face, it all comes from the same people, white men. So we need to get rid of them.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country, because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country.
Black power, white lives do not matter. You told white lives don't matter.
When we say we want to kill whitey, we don't really mean we want to kill whitey, we do.
White supremacy is on track to destroy the entire planet, and black power is the only thing that can stand in its way and stop it.
And there's a whole generation, I say this, I said this, for apartheid South Africa, I said this for my own, community in the South. There are still generations of people, older people, who were born and bred and marinated in it, in that prejudice and racism, and they just have to die.
O.C. Frangpong, who calls himself the funky academic online, recently commented on Facebook, some white people may have to die for black communities to be made whole.
Some white people may have to die.
You stick with that?
I'm confused on why that's so controversial.
And I kill all the white people in the movie. How great is that?
One idea is how we are going to exterminate white people, because that, in my estimation, is the only conclusion I have come to. We have to exterminate white people off of the face of the planet to solve this problem.
They are right. They're trying to hold on to power because race has beginning and an ending.
Random assaults in Manhattan, including a possible hate crime. Police had released surveillance video of the suspect walking on the street shirtless. Investigators say he attacked at least 4 people this month, 3 of them on August 14th. A 58-year-old man in Chelsea was hit in the face while the suspect allegedly shouted anti-white comments.
The chief said Muhammad also told officers he hates white people. All 3 victims were white men.
Y'all racists grab the white devils. We will continue to bring destruction and wrath upon America.
Postings on its Facebook page contain racially charged images and videos.
During the standoff, he said he wanted to kill white people.
He was upset about Black Lives Matter. The suspect stated he wanted to kill white people, especially white officers.
Bailey says at one point in the rant, the strange man threatens to kill every white person in the restaurant.
The vandals who spray painted Black Lives Matter and kill white people on walls, businesses, and homes. According to witnesses, a large group of black teenagers rampaged through the Midway late Wednesday, with several fights breaking out, and there were several attacks that may have been racially motivated.
A group of 4 African-American men and women laugh as they strike the mentally challenged white victim. He's bound and gagged. They slice off his clothing and cut his hair until his scalp bleeds.
goal is to dismantle white supremacy, and white supremacy is white culture, then the goal has to be to dismantle white culture and ultimately white people themselves.
Their squad cars from North Hollywood Division.
Whoa, whoa! Oh shit! Running right now. What you got, bro? Let me see what you got.
It's broken. We saw something similar happen earlier.
Oh, Lord! Oh, no!
Our experience on the ground confirms this. The number of open FBI domestic terrorism investigations this year has increased significantly. According to an unclassified summary of the March intelligence assessment, the two most lethal elements of the domestic violence extremist threat are racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists and militia violent extremists. In the FBI's view, the top domestic violent extremist threat comes from racially or ethnically motivated violent extremists, specifically those who advocated for the superiority of the white race. The March assessment concluded that the militia violent extremist threat, which is describes as those who, quote, take overt steps to violently resist or facilitate the overthrow of the United States government in support of their belief that the United States government is purportedly exceeding its constitutional authority, also increased last year and will almost certainly continue to be elevated throughout 2021.
did this for our black brothers and sisters for years and years of racism. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Chief.
There's no such thing as absolute freedom. For every liberty, an equal and opposite restraint is required. For example, in order for us to enjoy freedom of speech, it's necessary to deny others the freedom to come in here and break up this meeting. The logic of liberty is that it must stop short of the liberty to destroy itself. And if we're to preserve the freedoms we cherish in this land, then we mustn't be tricked by clever propagandists into giving the Communist Party the freedom it seeks to destroy freedom for us all.
Dear mama, something's wrong. It's cold for a summer night. I feel there's something far beyond what is in my sight. I don't know if we're safe here. I don't think we should stay here. Dear mama, something's wrong. It's cold for a summer night. There must be something in the water that's making us all this away. So tell your mothers and your daughters they better stay away. 'Cause out here there's something strange. I send an SOS, but nobody hears the call. I'm starting to wonder if anyone's out there at all. Don't know if it's just me or if we're going crazy. It's getting harder to breathe. There must be something in the water that's making us all this away. So tell your mothers and your daughters they better stay away. 'Cause out here there's something strange. There's something strange. There's something. There must be something in the water that's making us all this away. So tell your mothers and your daughters they better stay away. 'Cause there's something strange.
right, as you can see, this has been going on for 20 years, killing these people in our country with all these war torn places that they went to. People don't even talk about this. And it is a cultural genocide. It's only happening in white European countries. You need to ask yourself why. This is cultural genocide. It's been tried, been done once before. And this time they're going to succeed because people want this. Well, I'll tell you what, you Zionist fucks. Go ahead, take this one down. You're the ones that monitor YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Go ahead, you Zionist fucks. Take it down. People better wake the fuck up.